You're listening to Around Comics.
And you are also watching Around Comics. Whoa, hey, what happened here? How did I switch?
Whoa.
Wait a minute. This is all wrong.
I just got much smarter and much funnier.
I can't remember anyone's name now.
Wow. So, hold on. Let me see if I can fix this here. We'll get rid of that. And we'll try. There we go. Now we're better.
R.I.P.
The world
Dimmicks.
is right. What?
I said R.I.P. Dimmicks.
Yes, we were all in the wrong space on YouTube. If you're listening to this show, if you're listening to Around Comics, this is Around Comics episode 374. We are the comic book podcast show that talks about everything in and around the world of comics. If you're watching the show, you just saw a weird glitch in the Matrix where Tom and Chris switched panels for some reason. And
I was at Tom Caters.
You were Tom Caters for a brief moment.
That's what everyone dreams to be.
I was Chris Niesman not on Twitter, no social media except Telegram, Signal,
Carrier Pigeon,
Smoke Signal,
whatever, QAnon.
Honestly, Tom, I spend most of my evenings howling in the backyard.
It's like, who wants to hear me? Greg Rocca!
Hi, boys. Welcome back.
Wow. Yeah,
welcome back. It's been a couple weeks. I want to thank everyone for their patience while one of us took a phenomenal family vacation and the rest of us slaved away.
I'm sure they had things to do, but yeah, I did have a phenomenal family vacation. It was terrific. I have lots of stories. I have fish tales. I have legitimate fish stories. Yeah, I have fish stories. I do have to. I'm not going to tell you the fish stories. They're too. I mean, for this, but I do have a funny story, if you'll indulge me. So we stayed in this house in this campground, and it's a campground you can either rent tent or you can rent places to tent. You can rent cabins, or there's houses you can rent. And we had like 13 people going, so we rented a house, and it's this beautiful older 6-bedroom house in the woods, and it's kind of secluded, by itself up in the woods, and really nice, but a little old. The furniture's a little old, and
I love that it's a Christian compound.
Well, yes, it is a Christian. Well, of course. What would you expect? Where else would I go, Chris? But so we go there, and there's 6 bedrooms, and the 5 bedrooms are all like, well, there's 4 bedrooms that are like double beds. And then there's 1 bedroom that has a bunch of bunk beds. We put all the kids in there. And then there's 1 bedroom upstairs that has a single bed. And it's this weird little creepy red and white room that looked like Annabelle should live there, or that it should have been filled. Like all the carpet and the walls were red. The furniture was white. It was very strange. And we just called it the Red Room. And everybody kept calling it the Red Room. Well, my nephew, who was not staying at that house, but he was staying at a cabin with his family who are also there. They come over one night, and he's like, hey, and he's like 5 years old, and he's this awesome little dude. And he's like, hey, Brian. I'm like, hey, what's up, Cruz? And he's like, I want to show you the Red Room. And I'm like, no way, man. That's creepy, scary. I'm not going up there in the Red Room. No way. And so for about an hour, I am going back and forth with him and basically convincing him that I am terrified to go in the Red Room. And finally he's like, come on, man, I will, I'll protect you. Don't worry. Nothing will happen. There's nothing up there. I'm like, okay, Cruz, if you protect me, great. And he walks off for a second and to go talk to his mother. And when he does that, I go to my brother-in-law and I'm like, hey, I just spent the last hour convincing
you are such an asshole. I know what's coming. You are such an asshole.
that I'm terrified of the Red Room, and he's going to take me up there. You go hide in a closet. And now, I didn't do it because he was only 5 years old. And if he would have been 10, game on for sure. But at 5, I thought maybe it could have, had some long-lasting effects on the boy. I didn't necessarily want to scar him for life, but I thought it was just such a great setup. And I asked his mother, but I really wanted to do it. And my wife was like, no, you cannot do that to him. I'm like,
so how do you feel about years of therapy for like a stunt? Are you good with that?
So I did finally, I'm like, okay, I'm going to ask his mother and maybe she'll give me the okay. Right. And so I'm like, hey, what do you think about this? And I told her the whole story. And she's like, no, absolutely not. If you do that, he will be sleeping in your bed for the rest of the week. And I'm like, all right, I won't do it. So I didn't do it, but I really, really wanted to. And I know it was evil, but it was perfect. It was so perfect. He just set me up for it. I don't know.
He will learn. He will learn. He will learn not to trust you. Took me almost a decade. It took me almost a decade, but he will learn not to trust you.
Listen, 40 years from now, he would have thought back on this moment, on that moment fondly. He would have been scared shitless now, but he would have
as he slowly cleans his gun and sharpens his knife, to protect from the zombie apocalypse. It was Uncle Bry that taught me to never trust anyone.
Fear everyone.
Well, maybe that's not a bad thing in this day and age. The way we're headed could be good. A little extra paranoia.
I have so many really cool things to talk about this week.
Oh, well, then
I'm excited.
Better than that story? Thrilled. I doubt it, but let's go.
I mean, this is probably the first time that we've had a consensus pick on the show of something that we're all reading and jiving on, which is really cool.
We were all reading on it independent. Well, I mean, who suggest one of our listeners suggested it, one of our viewers, right? Yeah. Suggested this. I believe
Wayne. We're going to talk about that. I've got a couple other new to me things that have been around for a while. That the first one is
the album by Snoop Dogg.
You're a horrible human being.
Can't disagree.
Have you guys watched,
I didn't even tell you how I ended my vacation, but that's a story another day.
Doggy style.
Hanging with Snoop Dogg.
Have you guys watched Utopia on Amazon?
No, not yet.
It does not look like it would interest me in any way. It does not look like it would interest me in any way.
Yeah, it's probably a show that came out at the wrong time because it's centered around a pandemic conspiracy, and so. Yeah, it's got all that going for it, and I think anything that is pandemic oriented, I don't know if there's a whole lot of appetite for that as far as like enjoyable entertainment and escapism. Man, it was really good, great cast, and the setup, which is kind of why I want to talk about it on this show, is that the whole setup is that it's about 4 comic book nerds. Who
they would survive the apocalypse. Come on, right there.
It's not an apocalypse. It is an impending apocalypse, presumably, and it's about 4 comic book nerds that are fixated on a underground rare comic book that is kind of the Nostradamus of pandemics, and this one issue that came out, and it created this entire like subculture of fandom that is fixated on this weird comic called Dystopia, and then there is the second issue called Utopia, which no one has ever seen and it's just rumored to exist, and then it's found in Oak Park, Illinois, in some old woman's house.
In a terrible
comic shop. There's a lot of old women. There's a lot of hoarders out here in Oak Park.
Yeah, and you will love this, Tom, because it is absolutely a hoarder's house that they find.
This is not the show I thought it was at all. What you're describing is not It is nothing of what I thought this show was.
What did you think it was?
I thought it was about. I mean, this is so far off. This is why when you first, I'm like, no, I have no interest in the show whatsoever. I thought this was about like, who was the actress in the Spider-Man movies that played Mary Jane in the newest one?
Yeah. Oh, Emma Stone.
No, in the newest one. No, Jesus, that's like 20 years ago.
That's like 4 Spider-Man.
Zendaya.
Yeah, I thought it was about.
No.
You're thinking of Euphoria.
Oh,
you're thinking of Euphoria.
HBO.
Well, at least I had some relation.
Close. The word's clear.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, that show doesn't look like I would like it at all.
No. That's not for us. That's this show is for us. So Utopia is this comic book that, you know, these people find, and the guy does a Google search and he's like, oh my God, this is a big deal. We're going to auction this. And so they go to a Comic-Con and they have like private meetings to auction off the they call it the manuscript. It's basically the collected original art of this unpublished comic. And there's, of course, a secret society that doesn't want anyone to see the works of Utopia because it'll blow the lid off of the conspiracy. And so anyone who has actually seen any of the book is systematically eliminated. And like the 4 comic nerds that survive this like mass murder then have to go on the run and try and find the rest of the manuscript and figure out this conspiracy. And it is brutal. It's like brutally violent, but really well written, directed, acted. It's based on a UK series that actually ran for 2 seasons, and then it was brought over to the States by the I think writer-director of Gone Girl. And it's 8 episodes, and it's binge worthy. It's one of those that whenever the episode's done, you want to go to the next episode.
I'm really upset now because I really thought
you thought it was Euphoria,
and I booked Zendaya to be on the show today. Yeah. Now I'm just gonna.
Oh no!
Sorry,
we got all the wrong stuff.
Yeah. Watch it. It's I think it's ACTV worthy, even though we've got other stuff coming up. It's ACTV worthy. It's fucking better than MODOK.
Yeah, I'm ready to give up on MODOK.
Yeah, we got to have a wrap up episode on that, but it's I think 1. I can't do 2 more episodes of it.
Did you guys do one about Jupiter's Legacy, which got
Yeah, I'm a little upset about that.
Did you get canceled?
Yeah. Oh, it got canceled. Yeah, no season 2.
Really?
But a spin-off episode or a spin-off series from it.
What's the spin-off?
I don't know.
That sucks. Oh, that sucks.
I'm bummed.
That show.
Yeah, and Joshua Duhamel also not happy.
I would bet that was probably his that was a meaty role for him by the end of that first season. He was that sucks. Oh, that's too bad. I actually really liked that show. The first episode was awful.
Terrible. It was awful.
Probably it was terrible, and it probably really fucked up that series for a lot of people didn't continue watching it, unfortunately, because it did get much, much better as it went on.
I really liked it by the end. I was looking.
Yeah.
Which if you want to hear how much Sal and I like that by the end, you can go over to patreon.com/aroundcomics and check out our weekly show ACTV, which is Sal and I and occasionally a guest talking about different TV shows and movies and that kind of stuff.
Yes.
It's good. It's fun.
Oh, you know what else I wanted to tell people is when they're done doing that, they can go to aroundcomics.com/shop to support the show. And until Friday of this week, everything is 15% off. So
nice. I can finally get my coffee mug.
Oh my God.
15% off all official merchandise at aroundcomics.com/shop. So just
go.
Little plug there.
Nice. It's almost Father's Day, guys.
Right.
I mean, I probably won't get to you by then, but if you have,
just send them a receipt. Say, I bought you an AC hoodie. It's sweet.
Look, I bought you a hooded sweatshirt.
Yeah. Which you can also buy.
I think an NFT. Here, just send me money and send a screenshot to your dad and tell him he owns, whatever Around Comics merchandise NFT that
you own this episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I'll sell it for very well priced. Speaking of, I think you can get a Witch Fist shirt at the AC shop, and we're back.
We are just segue to segue right now.
I know, and we're back.
Sell, baby.
We're back with AC D&D this week. I have no idea where we are in the campaign. It's been a month since we rolled. So
yeah, we should be back Thursday, so that'll be fun. Thursday. That's not a Patreon. That's free, so you can just watch.
Have they been doing that without you guys, or
no? It's a long story.
We've had different things.
We've had high school and college graduations. We've
creative differences within the
scheduling conflicts. Yeah,
no.
Everybody's a busy time of year.
Really wants to play, but it's just been some things.
It's a busy time of year.
Joe G said, "Now you tell me. I just got my wife an AC coffee mug last week." Sorry, Joe.
A late Mother's Day gift. I mean, I don't know if you have kids, but
I don't know what to tell you, buddy. I appreciate it. Thank you for buying your wife an AC coffee mug. Maybe break it, throw it at her, and you'll have to get her a new one.
Here's the thing: Christmas,
no,
right around the corner.
Christmas. It's never too early to start.
It's never too early. Just knock all your Christmas shopping. Just get it all done with in one.
Tell you what, Joe. We're gonna give you this We're gonna give you this NFT episode of Around Comics for free. You own this one.
Whoa! Don't be making that kind of deal, or we have no idea what these episodes could be, worth in the future. Joe,
don't listen to him. Not legal.
No legal bearing. That was a joke, and he does not have the authority to.
This is an extremely fungible token.
Yes, this is a very fungible.
This is
EFT. This is
you can definitely funge this. Definitely.
Oh, this is why I hate naming the shows the episodes before the episode happens, because definitely
totally fungible.
totally
fungible. Yeah.
Funge this.
Funge this. Go funge yourself.
Oh God.
All right. So Utopia. That's my first.
I will check it out now.
And Euphoria on HBO.
And Euphoria.
Not so much that one.
Not so much.
Yeah, Sal, I think you'll really dig Utopia. We'll talk about it whenever we will segue from talking about MODOK, and then we'll talk about things that we like.
I mean, do you guys think this might be the start of an ACTV curse?
Oh wow! It's our fault that
it's like the curse of the Starbaker.
I mean, let's say if MODOK doesn't get a second season,
well, then
WandaVision is one. I mean, WandaVision not going to get a second season, right? Maybe.
No. I don't think. I think that was.
I don't think that.
I don't know.
I'm just saying, no show you've covered has. I think probably Invincible has been confirmed for a second.
For a second, 2 and 3. 2 and 3.
Well, we only talked about one episode.
Yeah.
No, we talked about the whole. We did a season recap.
Well, here's the deal, Tom. If you're listening to this episode and you don't want your show to be canceled, you can funge us, and we will. We will
not talk about your show. Do you want a second season of your show?
Pay us the big bucks, and we'll take it off of our list.
I'm just saying, it's something we got to keep an eye on.
All right,
it's like the cover of Madden, right? The Madden curse, right?
We are the Madden curse.
We're the Madden curse of comic book television shows.
I'm gonna say I'm gonna push it all on Chris and say it's the
Niesman. So Sal, tell Jack that if the Bucks get their crap together I may have round 3 tickets, but
don't make
it's not looking good. It's not looking good.
promises.
They're down 0-2.
Don't make promises to that young man. He is very.
It's all about the
know,
Giannis.
He is a big Giannis fan. He is. Yeah, that would be terrific if he can. If you could
Yeah.
do that, but I'm not going to tell him that, because if I tell him that and it doesn't happen, he's
the Bucks. The Bucks lose, and it's like, well,
right.
could have gone, but
coulda, shoulda, woulda. If only. If only the Bucks would suck.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's my first pick. What else y'all got?
Terminator 2.
The movie?
No, that's a whole nother story. But
I saw Terminator 2 on cable the other day, and I was like, yeah, this is a good movie. Yeah.
It is a good movie.
Really good. Have you guys seen Terminator 2? It's really.
Hey, you guys see that? It's good. So, I mean, it is. Before we talk about monsters, I mean, Terminator 2 is like, if you kind of describe it, it sounds fucking stupid. Where it's like, yeah, well, we took the bad guy from the first movie and we made him a good guy because he's too famous to be a bad guy now.
But he still makes a lot of money. So
money.
make another movie with him.
So, but they made it make sense. They made it make sense.
Totally. Yeah.
He's reprogrammed.
Travel, baby. Everything works with time travel.
You can make it work.
Yeah.
Wow. And they never made another Terminator movie after that.
That was it.
So
it's done.
Here's another Terminator 2 tie-in. So Sal and I are going to go see David Chappelle, who just announced that he's going to.
You keep announcing.
We're going to go. We're going to go. He's going to headline Summerfest. Do you know who is playing that same day at Summerfest?
The RZA?
Filter.
Okay, why is that important?
The lead singer is Robert Patrick's brother.
Maybe
Patrick from T2.
He's the
Jesus.
Yeah.
That was that. Okay.
I mean, there's a good. I think there's a good chance he'll be there.
I think there's a good chance he's carrying amps for the
for the Terminator 2. The Terminator 2 cast reunion at Summerfest.
It's just that dude and the guy from the garbage truck in the beginning.
I love that Robert Patrick's brother is the lead singer of Filter.
I did not know that. I didn't.
Really?
How does he connect to Kevin Bacon? Robert Patrick's brother. Let's not actually.
There's a website. I'll go there.
Terminator 2. Yeah, never made another one. Crazy.
Okay, so I got to tell you my Terminator 2 story now, since we talked. So after I did not scare the living shit out of my nephew, that same night later we had a campfire. We were making s'mores, and the kids were out there, and on their own they start telling ghost stories. And my one niece tells this. She's like 9 years old, and she tells like a legitimate creepy ghost story. But that's not the funny part. The funny part is then the kids start sort of like fighting for who's going to tell a story, and they start just sort of rambling on, and they're not. Yeah. She told a really good story, but the little ones, they can't. They don't.
They got nothing.
They don't know plot structure, 3-act structure. They don't understand this. So they're kind of like going back and forth trying to all tell the stories, and then Cruz, the same nephew that the whole red room thing was about, he puts his hand, he's like, okay, I want to tell you a story. And we're all like, okay, what is it, Cruz? He's like, it's called Terminator 2. And then he proceeds to tell us the entire plot of Terminator 2.
Oh, wow, it's bold to go right to 2.
That's amazing.
It was awesome.
Oh, yeah. By the way, 1 degree, because Robert Patrick was in Jane Mansfield's car with Kevin Bacon.
What?
You mean, is that a movie? Or like literally in
Jane Mansfield's car when she died?
I'm assuming it's a movie.
Decapitated?
Yeah. So their websites
around Terminator, the Terminator franchise. There's got to be a podcast dedicated to the Terminator franchise, which
there is.
Yeah, where it's just like another one. I guess they made another Terminator.
The
I
Termicast,
didn't see the last one.
the Yerminator. Anyway.
They never made another one after 2.
He's trying to make the All-Star team because he wants to be in the home run derby.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. All right, so we're going to talk about this book that we've all
monsters. The monster is at the end of this book. We're talking about that Sesame Street book, right? The monster at the end of this book.
Yes. This is a book about Grover.
The classic.
That would be
hilarious. Wait.
We should because then
we're talking about.
It's
amazing. I was just reading this to my son. Wow, I can't believe you guys are reading this too.
That's great.
I don't know.
Great book,
stories ever told.
That's going to be my pick of the season when it's my turn.
Yes, Barry Windsor-Smith's tome, his opus, Monsters, which was suggested to us by Wayne. He suggested it to us like 2 weeks in a row. He's like, "Did you guys read Monsters?" And we're like, "No. What is
No.
No." But we have started. None of us have finished it yet, but we have all started, and so we decided that was going to be sort of the mutual book for today to talk about. I don't know. Did you guys know?
It's terrible. I hate it. It's the worst.
Did you guys? I had no idea he had been working on this for 30 years.
Long time.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been working on it for like 30 years. I guess there's been articles and things. Originally, it was supposed to be a Hulk origin story. Like he started it as a Hulk origin story, and then it didn't. Marvel is like, no, you can't have all this horrible stuff happen in our comics, And then I guess it went to Dark Horse, and
then Al Ewing came along, and they're like, "Yeah, okay, cool."
Yeah, right. And then he, but yeah, there's a lot of like legend behind this thing, and people always assumed it was going to be one of those like great unpublished works by a legendary creator, but luckily he finished it, and it was published by Fantagraphics, and Barry Windsor-Smith is amazing as an artist.
Yeah.
He always has been. And I've always sort of been like, why isn't he doing more work? Why don't you see more comics by him? I mean, just for me growing up, like his Weapon X and Machine Man, the miniseries, those two things were like so imprinted on my brain. Just love that stuff that he did then, and he's amazing artist. And this is a little different than like some of that stuff. I mean, very similar in a lot of ways, but also a little different too. But I mean, so far I'm about I'm about halfway through it. I think a little more than half. And
I mean, Barry Windsor-Smith is one of those creators that he's really hard to define. I mean, he fits, for me, somewhere in between like Art Adams and Frank Frazetta, where it's just like this amazing talent that just, you want to have work from him so often, and it just, he doesn't produce a ton of work, so whenever he does, it's kind of an event.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's an event for him to produce something. So, this is.
But do you think that's because he's been working on this so much? Like,
it's been taking up all his time.
Yeah. Or I don't know how prolific of an artist he is. I mean, his stuff is pretty detailed. I wonder.
Yeah.
If it's just a combination of things. I don't know that much about him. Like, I don't really know much about Barry Windsor-Smith. I don't, as far as his personal life or even his career, I've never like sat down and sort of examined his career. I knew his work and I loved anything that I saw from him, but has he written anything? Do you guys know? Has he written stuff? Or is he written?
I mean, he kind of pops up. It always felt to me like he just kind of pops up sometimes, and you're like, oh, Barry Windsor-Smith. I like Barry Windsor-Smith.
He's kind of like Mazzucchelli that way. It's like already in the Hall of Fame, and then something comes out, and you're like, oh wow. And I'll keep like comparing him to other people, which is bogus because I mean he stands on his own, but I'm just trying to articulate kind of who he is as an artist and creator to me. And he hasn't done a ton of work, but everything that he's done has been like important, right?
Well, probably the most stuff that he did was in the 90s when he was doing all the what's the company? Valiant stuff. He was doing, Exo Man of War and Archer and Armstrong and Eternal Warrior covers. And I mean, he did covers for so many of those books, but he did, I would say
and then like all the Conan stuff, was really, I think, was it Conan that kind of put him on the map from, we've talked about like his early Marvel stuff. I mean, he was doing X-Men stuff in the original run, like before Giant Size. He was working on X-Men before Neil Adams. So, I mean, that's going back to what, 67, 68?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Something like that.
Yeah.
Something in that area.
And he wasn't Barry Windsor. He was Barry Smith at that point.
Barry Smith.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, like he just always sort of like kind of would pop up every once in a while, or you'd like be like, oh, cool, but like, yeah. I
don't even know how many issues of like Conan did he do, or how, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to think it was that much, and that's the weird thing. Like, he's like you're saying, Tom. Like I can't even point to something that's like, oh, that's sort of his. I mean, I guess it would be Weapon X would be his most well-known thing, but that was what, like 4 issues or 8? How many issues was Weapon X? I don't even remember.
Tom's gonna laugh at me.
12 issues.
I don't.
He's going to the wall. I'm looking it up. It was more than 4 issues. 8? I don't know. I don't remember. But it wasn't a ton, and it wasn't like he's had a long run on anything.
It was, I think, 12.
12?
In 1991. From
Where are my glasses?
Marvel Comics presents some number 72 to number 84.
What if it's just he just doesn't like drawing that much? Like, I don't really care for it. No,
he hates comics. Yeah. It's like a stupid fucking Weapon X story.
Oh God, looking at this thing, Jesus, what a masterwork! It's
Weapon X.
Oh God.
Frankenstein.
But Monsters is really, I mean, it's 300 and something pages. It's probably the most.
It's a tome.
It's the most he's ever done, is what my point is. I think, like,
and it's dense.
It is. Yeah,
it's like complex, packed,
and every page is gorgeous. And it reminds me of so many things, yet it's very unique. You know what I mean? Like it reminds me in places. It reminds me of Sin City. In places, it reminds me of The Dark Knight Returns. In places, it reminds me of Watchmen.
It reminds me of
Charles Burns' Black Hole.
Remind me of Luther Arkwright a little bit, like in sort of like the tone, like the original black and white one, where it's sort of like a little grotesque at times, like the way he's doing it. It's like there's so many kind of twists and turns in what you think the book is about. Like that's what makes it so dense, is like you kind of think like, oh, it's this. And then like, oh, wait like this book's actually about this, or like it's, but not in a bad way, like in a really good way, where it's sort of like, oh, this is like a really big story with really big themes. And it's not just like the art is gorgeous, but it's not just like, here's a art showcase, like it's a storytelling showcase of like, here's all these different tones. And like, there's moments between just people talking that are gorgeous, that aren't like some sort of sci-fi or fantasy element, or without like, you know, those elements to it. Like there's just such wild turns in like what's going on in the book at times. It's kind of amazing. It's all done by one person, like he's doing all these different feelings and stuff that's happening in there.
I 100% agree with what you're saying, Tom. No question. And like there were pages where I was just like amazed at the lettering. You know, and
Yes.
just like he's doing this amazing job lettering this book. I mean, it's a true masterwork by a comic professional. You know what I mean? Like a legendary comic book artist.
The grasp of American South dialect for a British creator to be able to, I mean, almost like Mark Twain level dialect.
Almost a little too much.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, it was.
I was just wondering. I'm like, did he write that 30 years ago? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that was one thing that I thought too. Where I was like, like it borders like a little thick on like the accent.
Yeah, it didn't. I mean, it didn't bother me or anything like that. But it was just one of those things. Like, I wonder if people are gonna sort of have a problem with that, if that's a problematic. I think it was
1960s American South. I mean, it's probably relatively accurate.
No, I don't disagree, but that like fact and reality has nothing to do with people getting upset about something. Like
I don't really care.
No, I know. Regardless of any of that, it was. But yeah, the everything in this is amazing. Like every part of it. And I honestly, when I first saw this book solicited, I thought it was an art book. I thought it was a compilation of Barry Windsor-Smith's monster stuff, like his horror comics or horror pinups. That's what I thought it was, and so that's why when I first saw it, I didn't even think about ordering it. I was like, "Oh, maybe I'll pick that up sometime." I had zero expectation for this story as far as what it is, and then it's just like, "Whoa, this is amazing!" I mean, it's such a deep, like, dark, troubling, truly, truly sad story. That made me think about my own childhood, made me think about the way that I've been a father. I mean, just things that comic books usually don't reflect on. Yeah.
And there's Nazi scientists.
And there are Nazi scientists.
So those guys were everywhere.
Yeah, that's like the wild sort of mix that's in here. It's like you have those sort of comic book tropes of like a Nazi scientist doing experiments and like giant monsters and but it's also mixed with like you're saying like the themes of like personal responsibility. What does it mean to like feel responsible for something, to like when those coexist in one story, and
it's we've collectively read tens of thousands of comics in our lives, probably, and there are storytelling and panel progressions in this book that I've never seen before.
I didn't have time. I wanted to take a picture of this page so that I could sort of talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it anyway. It's page 83 in the book, and I'm just going to describe it. Have you read to that point, Chris? I don't want to spoil it for you. Okay. So it's basically in the story for anyone that has read it. If you have not read it, this is kind of a spoiler, and it's a really awesome page. It's not really necessarily a spoiler as far as the story so much, but it is a spoiler, and but I love this page a lot. Basically, in the story, what is happening is there's this creature that has been created, and he's being held by this government facility, and this other guy who sort of it didn't enlist him, but sent him to be the Steve Rogers of this experiment. Feels guilty and now is going to try and find out what is happening to him. And it's the moment where he sees the monster for the first time, and we as the reader kind of see the monster for the first time, and it's this eerie, creepy thing where he's like in this dungeon, in this basement of this military facility, and he's behind a wall hiding, and he sees this creature on a forklift coming towards him, and it's singing, "I got the world on a string looking for a rainbow. got that string around my finger, and it's this super creepy, weird moment, and then halfway through the page, you realize that it's not the creature who's singing it; it's the driver of the forklift. And I'm like, that is one of the most masterfully done pages in a comic book that I've ever seen. Like, that is something you could easily do in a movie. You know what I mean? But I don't know that I've ever seen it done quite so well like that in a comic book, where it was like, and it's just the placement of the balloon. And I was just like, that is so good. Like, it is so well done. That one page just blew me away out of 300 pages that will blow you away. It was just, for whatever reason, that sequence of events is like, wow, that is someone.
It's a masterclass. It's a masterclass.
It really is something special. That single page alone. I mean, like I said, there are so many great pages in this book, and it's a great story, and everything about it is awesome. But when that like little twist hit me, it was just so I was just so blown away by, you know, Barry Windsor-Smith just manipulating me so easily with that one page. Just like, fuck, that was awesome. You
son of a bitch.
Yeah. Totally got me. I was just like,
it's
wow.
Yeah, I mentioned Mazzucchelli earlier, and I haven't felt this way about a book since I read Asterius Polyp, which I felt was also a masterclass in graphic storytelling. And I'm not going to read this really quick. I'm probably going to take another couple weeks because I don't want to tear through it. I mean, this is fine dining, and I want to enjoy every bite, kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, you know, I'm like of two minds with it. Like, I kind of want to sit and study it more, but I kind of also just want to rip through it. You know what I mean? Like, I really just want to read it. You know, it's just I'm so, and that's, you know, like, I have a hard time with some 22-page comic books. Like, I tore, you know, 180 pages of this book in a couple of days, you know what I mean? Like, because it's so good, you know, and he's such a good storyteller.
Maybe we should just read it, and I'll throw this out there as a podcast compliment. I just want to see the comics kayfabe guys just dissect it and just
they already did an episode on it.
Did they? Yeah, I can imagine.
Back in April,
Jim and Ed.
But I don't know how. I haven't listened to it, so I don't know what it contained. I mean, you could spend a lot of time for sure just going through this book and sort of examining it. But it also, I mean, it's interesting to me because it is a layered book. Like, it is I think a complicated story in a sense, but I think he's such a good storyteller that it's not like it's hard to read or you know what I mean, or impenetrable. Like, I think there's things in it that I think you could maybe look into too deeply, or and there's certainly things you could miss, but I don't know that it's like, it's just so well done that I think you can kind of, you know, just read it and not so much, you know, have to examine it, you know, like some stuff that is more complex. It seems like you have to, you know, like there's some sort of like hidden, you know, it's like he's not trying to make it a difficult story, you know what I mean? Like, he's not trying to make a complicated.
It's not the Invisibles.
It's not, it's a straightforward kind of story, but there are these really interesting things in it, like you know, Project Prometheus is sort of an interesting name for it, and you know, Billy, or is it Billy Bailey is the, you know, and Agent Roth or General Roth and all the sort of Hulk things, and then, you know, one of the things,
it makes a lot of sense. I had no idea about the Hulk origins, and I'm just like, oh, okay, well, shit, that makes sense now.
Yeah, There's an article on NPR, an interview with Barry Windsor-Smith. He talks about this. It's a really good interview.
I was trying to get him.
Oh, yeah. Good luck.
Yeah, me too.
I was going to ask you guys though. Did you notice? And it was mostly with Sergeant McFarlane, the guy that him. The story is about him and his family after he sends Bailey to the Project Prometheus. Did you guys notice a lot of like scenes with him where half his face was covered up?
Yes.
And that seems to be like a running theme through this book. Like with Bailey, his face is damaged, in the beginning, and you have that. But then there was like all these scenes I kept seeing with him, like he was shaving in the mirror, and like all of a sudden, like half his face started to deteriorate away, and it was a kind of an not an illusion, but it was just a delusion that he had. But then there was another scene where he's talking to Bess, his wife, on the front porch, and he keeps walking past this spider web, and it's just like covering up half his face. And I'm like, what is he trying to say with that? You know what I mean? Like it seemed obvious that there was something that he was inflecting, but I couldn't quite grasp what that was. Like,
well, I think that's his state of mind, is that he's not able.
He's not whole.
He's not whole. He's not able to put everything together, and that's the torture that he's going through. Is that he really doesn't have the whole story together. He doesn't know what to do or where to go. He feels in shadow and doesn't know everything. He doesn't have the whole story. He's tortured by his lack of understanding of what's going on. But he knows that he sent this kid to his doom, and he's tortured by that.
But also how much that character, how different he looks in different states of mind, where like he has him, like looks like a soldier. Then when he's kind of having a breakdown, he looks like he's having a breakdown. Yeah, it's the same character, but like he really pushes.
Hasn't left his house for 6 months.
Yeah,
had a good night's sleep. Yeah,
like he really pushes how far, especially in a medium where often there's such a premium put on stay on model or stay on like this is what this character looks like. You must make him look like this to be so like freewheeling with like, oh well, no, like this person would look like this when they're having this breakdown, and like really pushing it as far as you can go, where it's still the same character, right? Like you're like, oh, that's that character, but that if you put them side by side, and you weren't reading the book,
right?
Like you'd be like, oh, are those two characters? Is that the same person? Like
I felt the same way about Mrs. Bailey. I can't remember her first name now.
Yeah.
His mom.
Yeah.
Where like there were times where it's like she's young and beautiful and happy, and then there's times where she's very sad and very depressed and weathered, and but you always know it's her. It's just she's going through these all these times of things, dealing with everything, and it's just like, yeah, he's so good at it's funny that you mentioned that, because it was one of those things that I noticed, like, oh man, there's a scene with McFarlane where he's in the basement, with the comic books.
Yeah.
Like he's got a bit of a, he still looks like him, but he's got a bit of a fifth, extra chin.
Yeah.
Just a little, and I remember thinking like, wow, he is really leaning into this and giving you, just so much with every page. I mean, even some of the stuff like later in the book where you're reading from her diary, and it's Janet. Wayne told us here it's Janet. Where you're reading through and he may just have like one or two illustrations on the page of dialogue, to emphasize the story. And some of those fucking, it's like there's one where it's just like it's a tabletop with like a duvet and a pen. And I'm like, the level of detail in it is in black and white shadows and everything. It's just amazingly beautiful drawing of a tabletop with a pen. You know, it's just like,
The ink work in this book is just Jesus.
The black and white the way that he uses black and white in shadow and light is just amazing. But what I felt he did a little bit different in this book was, like, he's always had a very sort of liquid feel to his art, like things felt very shiny or liquidy or that kind of thing. But with this, there was a lot more grit and grime as well. You know, there was a lot more hash mark as opposed to just sort of that liquidy ink that he sort of is known for. And
but it's still Barry Windsor-Smith.
Oh yeah, no question.
It's got his fucking eyes.
His eyes.
The eyes. I mean, that's what always gives it away for me. You know, it's like, you know, people talk about like Ditko, and it's the fingers.
Yeah,
Barry Windsor-Smith. It's his eyes.
For me, it's his lip, like the
lips. Yeah,
very,
his mouths and his It's but God, the way that he does eyes, and it's just, I mean, that's Barry Windsor-Smith, and it's unique and just captivating. It's
did you guys, one of the other things that I loved was in the very beginning, the scene when he's a child and his father in the shed, and the mother, you know, Janet comes and the father speaking German, and you can tell it's German, but you can't really read it because of the way that he put the words in the balloons. And I'm like, that's really smart, because I bet if you knew what those words were, you would probably translate it, and then, you know, it would sort of give something away that he doesn't want to give away yet.
Yeah.
And I was like, that was just so smart. That little thing of like, okay, I'm going to put it in a, you know, iron cross sort of font and blow it up so it doesn't even fit inside the balloons. It's not, you can't even read the words. You can kind of make them out a little bit, but you can't really tell. I'm like, that's such a cool effect for, you know, for a couple of ways. I mean, even if you didn't want to necessarily hide what he was saying, just the idea of like, she doesn't speak German, so she's not understanding what he's saying, and this is her sort of narration.
Monolithic impersonation of it.
Yeah, very cool. And that was the other thing too, like I noticed, which was really interesting, was the story changed depending on the narrator. There were bunch of different narrators to the story, and the same events sort of changed depending on who was telling it. And that's, you know, obviously very realistic. You know, people's memories are bad, or the way they would want to tell a story necessarily, or how much they want to reveal about a story. But it's something you don't, you know, like you kind of have have to have a 300-page book to do something like that, you know. And
hey, you spent 35 years, man.
Right, you're gonna really get it down. I can't say enough about it. It's really
amazing. It is, I mean, like, landmark piece of work, you know. And you know me, I'm all about hyperbole. It's it's an important.
Chris might be actually telling the truth this time.
I might
instead of just hyperbole.
Yeah,
yes,
it's
300
really
pages
good.
Poem that Barry Windsor-Smith spent the bulk of his life creating may end up being his
defining work.
It might be like an important book, you know. Yeah,
could be.
Might
even be better than Weapon X. You know, who would know?
Wow. Maybe. Oh, whoa.
Relax there.
Let's
not go crazy here, guys.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It really is, and I hope that, you know, I hope that it does. I mean, become his, you know, signature work for most people. I don't know if it will or not necessarily, because, you know, comic book fans are, a lot of comic book fans don't, you know, read outside of their comfort zone of superhero comics. So if it's not in that, then they don't, a lot of times they might miss something as amazing as this. But I hope if you're out there listening or watching this and you have not read it and you don't know if you would like a book that isn't about superheroes, you should go read this anyway, because it's really an amazing. I mean, this is like one of those, like, once again, hyperbole, of course, but it is, it feels like to me one of those books like Dark Knight Returns or like Mouse or Asterios Polyp or one of those things where it's just like
Black
this
Hole.
is,
I keep coming back, like Black Hole by Charles Burns. It's like it's an
is,
evergreen book that should stay in print forever.
Yeah, it's already probably book of the year. You know what I mean? Like, what's going to come out? If something comes out better than this, then I really want to see that fucking.
Then it's a great year. You got two great books then.
Yeah. But yeah, a super cool book, man. I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
Let's make this like part 1, because I want all of us to.
Yeah, we do have to finish it, right?
Yeah, if all of us. I mean, we're like.
I hope he doesn't like fuck up the last quarter of it, or I'll be like. In the end, it's like, ooh, this is not good. This book is not good.
Wow, at the end, he turned into a racist.
Oh God!
I apologize to everyone. It's like the last quarter of it was not good.
What's that whole white power?
It gets very It's like, ugh. Actually, the Nazis had a lot of good ideas. If that's how the book ends, I'll be like,
I'm gonna warn you about that last episode of Utopia. There's some stuff where I'm like,
the Nazis have some good.
Yeah,
dude,
you'll know what I talk about whenever you get there.
I just leave the frame.
Did you guys catch the sort of it wasn't a trailer, it was like a behind the scenes look at the making of the Sandman for Netflix?
Gaming thing? Yeah.
I saw a little bit of that.
That was pretty cool. It looked pretty awesome. The guy they got to play Morpheus is like, he looks like a drawing out of the goddamn comic book. It's like, what the hell? Yeah, that guy looks exactly like Morpheus. But so I was like, well, there's no way. I don't know when that show comes out, but I'm like, there's no way I'm going to be able to reread all of Sandman beforehand. But I could listen to the audio dramatization, which I started listening today, and
I like it. I like it better than the comic.
Oh well, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. It's a different thing. But I will say this: I could listen to Neil Gaiman just read his own stories or read anyone's stories. Like,
read a phone book. Yeah, read a phone book.
A magical, like, fairy tale way to speak and write, and it's just like, God damn! I'm so jealous of it. It seems like he just talks exactly. He writes exactly like he talks. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, this is just the way Neil Gaiman talks, and it turns into a fucking story.
Yeah, it's like, yes, I went into the kitchen to make an omelet, and there were fairies on the stove, and they told me to crack the eggs.
Why do you have to ruin this for me?
Yeah, you're just. God,
horrible Neil Gaiman impression.
Ruined it. Well, all right, great.
Are we done?
Look, I think
we're done.
Yeah, unless you want to talk Sweet Tooth.
Let's save Sweet Tooth. I'm actually going to watch it.
Sweet Tooth.
Yeah, we should do an ACTV with Tom.
Loki starts tomorrow.
Yeah, I got some Sweet Tooth to watch, and next week I want to talk about Alan Moore's 1963. You guys ever read that?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's really good. It's really cool.
I
was talking to Windorf this week. He was like, "Oh, yeah, you got to read that." And I never had it. It's an absolute blind spot for me for Alan Moore, and it's I acquired it, and it's
I acquired
really
it.
cool. I acquired it.
Cultivated it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's neat. It's kind of like Alan Moore and Rick Veitch, and it's Dave Gibbons inking Rick Veitch, which on its own is super cool. And it's it's their kind of like weird take and reimagining and whatever they do look at Marvel 1963.
Oh yeah. I do remember that now.
Yeah. It's I'm loving it. It's great.
It's a parody.
It is. Yeah, but it's in the Alan Moore way. So
I remember that. Yeah. Maybe I'll have to try and find that, reread it.
Yeah.
Is there a trade of it somewhere, or
Sure.
Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
It does not need to be a trade.
Yeah, really good. So I'll talk about that next week.
Okay, next week.
Yeah.
Next week it is.
All right. We got anything else?
Yes, I do have a couple of things. I have 3 Patreons to thank. We have 3 new patrons. Steve Thompson, Dr. Richie Bag of Donuts, and Ben Petrilla. So thank you all 3 of you for and supporting Around Comics. We really do appreciate it. And I do have an email from Joe G, but
yeah. FYI, I will have the Chris Staros interview to you tomorrow, Sal.
Well, what good does it do me tomorrow? I have this episode to put out tomorrow.
Then you can put it out the next day. But I've got an interview with Chris Staros talking about coaching comics for people and what a great guy he is, and history of Top Shelf.
Sort of looked like Wario there for a moment. You just
I'm like a Modoc.
Yeah. So I got a Chris Staros interview I'm sitting on. I'll get it over to you. We'll get that out this week. So
Tom, you owe me a Tom versus.
Yeah, dude. Listen, I'll get to it. I got a lot of problems. A lot of work problems.
Fair enough.
It's on my list.
Problems.
Would you like me to read this email?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So this is from Joe G, who's watching the show right now. Joe.
Hi, Joe.
He said, Sal, Chris, Tom, and guest if available. No. Sorry, guys. I listened live for 2 episodes and you disappeared. I suspect this could be my fault. Obviously, Joe has magic thinking just like Tom about how we cancel shows. Joe G cancels Around Comics. Anything I like goes away. That's sad. I've been catching up on mixed episodes. Enjoyed the Tom King interview. I was unfamiliar with Tom King's work. I had seen the name, but didn't know if he was any good. I borrowed the Batman trade, I Am Gotham, from Kindle Unlimited, read it, and really enjoyed it. David Finch's art was also very good. I also enjoyed the Steve Englehart Justice League 101 episode. I remember buying them off the spinner racks of convenience stores as a kid. Tom Caters is exactly right. Better stories and characterizations abounded in that short run. Brought out the Manhunters, White Martians, and the Construct. Spoiler, the Construct was used in the Giffen DeMatteis Maguire Justice League as Max Lord's controller. Ask Tom Caters, not Tom King, what is his favorite incarnation of the Legion of Superheroes? Just curious. Thanks, guys. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. Well, we love emails. Keep them coming.
We do love emails. Tom?
I mean, like, my favorite Legion story is probably the Great Darkness saga. So probably like that early 80s, late 70s, Brainiac 5's in there. That's probably, though there's been so many great iterations of it. It's not like I would say that's the definitive and only one, like there's been some really fun other, like, they, being set in the future, they've had a lot of great opportunities to just restart shit again and again, which sometimes for the best, sometimes for the worst. But I was gonna say, I just saw one. He's going to his wall. He's going to the wall. I was like, Legion Lost was a fun story.
That is my favorite Legion story, and that's from a very shallow pool of Legion
You know what's
stories.
not my
I've read.
favorite Legion stories?
Yeah.
Which I think I have one more week to finish.
Mhm.
The book of the month that will never die.
We're supposed to talk about that next week.
Mhm.
Just so you guys are prepared.
You don't have to read all of them.
Good, because I don't think I physically could between now and then.
Because you're looking Barry Windsor-Smith monster and
Legion. Some not great Legion stories. Some okay ones. Some not great ones.
We do have to talk about that next week. So
Is that a lot of Jerry Conway? Is it Jerry Conway? Who wrote those?
I don't know.
Can't remember off the top of my head.
Somebody who likes fucking circuses. That's who I'll tell you. That's who.
There's no good circus.
Space circus.
Anytime there's a villain, it's a circus. It's like I never liked arcade.
I love
never liked
arcade.
it.
Fuck off.
I did like
Great
arcade.
fucking
No,
character.
don't. Nope. No good.
No good.
Fuck
No
you,
good.
Tom Caters.
And so it's like, who do we get? Who do we get?
Unnecessary.
Arcade's like
You take Arcade's name out of your fucking mouth.
Arcade's like, I guess we gotta call some. We gotta have a villain.
Really though?
He had some circus vibes to him, like his whole like
He had a
murder
circus
world.
Parker.
There's like 3 X-Men issues that I'm very nostalgic for. That's it. That's pretty
That
much it. And
character.
they probably weren't very good.
We can fight about it.
I'm not gonna fight
We
about
can.
That's
I'll
like
come up
fighting
to
about
Milwaukee
sports.
and we can talk about this.
Get drunk and fight.
The Circus
I'll-
of Crime,
Yeah.
or whatever that one that the Hulk, not good. Also, it's just like
Even like Batman Joker stories that end up with a circus involved. It's like another circus, or Penguin always has a circus.
it's like
some bullshit.
a space circus. Also, I mean, a space circus. You'd think be like, oh, that's kind of cool, but it's like not. It's not.
Well,
They
it's
didn't-
not, because it's just a circus in space.
It's-
There's
yeah.
nothing different about it. It's
Yeah.
just a fucking
Hey,
circus.
Hey,
That
you put a bear balancing on a ball.
You gotta,
I'm in.
dude. You gotta come out with one of these issues every 30 days, man. I guess we're sticking with this.
I'm writing 11 different comics this month. What do you want from me?
What was Paul Levin supposed to do? They can't all be gold, my friend.
This is true. This is true. We should be
They can't all
forgiving.
be they can't all be monster.
Yeah, exactly. It's like
Yeah,
they
I mean,
can't
it's
all-
took this slacker 35 years
It's
to
like
get this.
monster, Legion
Yeah.
before the darkness.
I got 5 days to write this Legion story. I guess we gotta like. I guess it's a circus. All right, let's do it.
Yeah, circus
There we
in
go.
space. It works.
Yeah, circus in space. Boom, done.
over.
Next one.
Check.
Over. Everyone, Timberwolf is arguing with somebody. There you go. Let's just get over. Slot it all in, guys.
I have
make
so many
sure-
thoughts. Please go read the first couple issues of 1963, because it's hilarious how Alan Moore kind of tackles those comic book tropes, and it's great. It's
Well, I will say this. I think Alan Moore's sense of humor is probably the thing that he is most overlooked about. People take his work so seriously, but he has a tremendous sense of humor and has shown it.
it's a funny dude.
Yeah, he is. He's a very funny guy.
I mean, DR and Quench was a comedy book. He kind of cut his teeth writing. I mean, literally writing funny books. So it's everyone thinks of him as kind of like this, grand master wizard of comics. He's the wizard
Which
of
he
comics.
is.
Alan Moore, if you are,
Yeah.
I know you're watching. No spells, please. Do not cast.
No curses, please.
No
But
curses.
Yeah,
please.
he's. I mean, and not. I mean, we talked to Hillary Barta, who's a longtime friend of the show, and that's one of the things that Hillary says about him. It's like he's like a really funny guy, because Hill did the Splash Brannigan stuff with him. He's like, he's really
40 years ago. Who knows if he's funny still?
It was like, he may not be funny
It
anymore.
might be funny anymore.
So right.
All right. Are we done? Are we done with this silliness?
Yeah,
for
I
today?
think so. Okay, so we mentioned patreon.com/around comics. Go check that out for all of our special content there. We've got AC D&D. Sorry, I smashed my
Thursday.
desk. We have AC D&D on Thursday. Peace, love, understanding. Email the show at info@aroundcomics.com. And we'll be back. We're off summer vacation, so we'll be back. You got brass knuckles there. We'll be back regular schedule on Tuesdays. And that's it. That's all I got. That's what Sal's
go to the
set. Emporium.
You're taking you to the Knuckle Circus.
2 weeks away.
Center ring.
From the long-awaited Legion Book of the Month. Or book
Center
of the
ring and the trapeze. And we're going to go.
We call this one Fat Lady.
The Prussian strong man.
And the
bearded
lady.
I call this Burr and this one Rito. So we'll be back again later this week or next Tuesday or whenever. In the meantime,
in between time,
we'll be everywhere in
and around
comics
and circuses.
And circuses and monsters.
Everywhere and around.